Hey, what up? This is my AEW Revolution 2022 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view was last night. Was going to do a review last night. The show kind of ran long. I was a little bit tired after it, but it was an incredible show. Definitely a pay-per-view that you need to go out your way to see. The one thing about AEW, they always step up their A game and always give you a great pay-per-view. Now, I know one of the things people are probably going to complain about the show was the show kind of went long, which I was a fan of indie wrestling in the early thousands, notorious for Gabe Sapolsky running long Ring of Honor shows, and then IWA Mid-South would run shows that would seem like 5-6 hours long. Obviously, back then it was to sell the product on DVD, so doing a longer thing and getting your money's worth seemed more worth it. And on a pay-per-view, kind of does as well. You know, it's $50 for the pay-per-view, so it's kind of cool to see them like basically giving more than your money's worth for it. But there are kind of some things on the show where they probably could have cut the match time a little bit for a few matches that might have overstayed their welcome. Then maybe like one or two matches that probably could have done without actually being on the pay-per-view. Or they could have probably put those matches that might have not been like worthy of the actual pay-per-view and then structured them to be on the buy-in. Because the one thing, I'm going to go in and review the show from the buy-in to the pay-per-view, but I'm going to be honest, the buy-in, just like everyone's probably going to say, is not worth your time to actually go out your way to see. Just cut to the actual start of the pay-per-view. Really, the only thing on the buy-in that you would actually want to see would be probably the six-man tag they did with the House of Black taking on Pac, Pentagon, and Erick Redbeard. That was probably the only thing on the pre-show that was worth a damn to actually see. But this was a great show. Let me get into the review of this. Started off in the buy-in with Leyla Hirsch versus Kris Statlander. Now, I'm a fan of both of them, but this match was just very sloppy. They didn't have any chemistry. Just was not a good match. This was something that should have just like aired on Dark. Shouldn't have been anywhere on a pay-per-view, even though I know this is the free part of the show, the pre-show basically. But still, not a good match. Dud. Don't go out your way to see. Then after this, get a little tease. Looks like you're going to be seeing Kenny Omega come out. You see the Titantron go up and Kenny Omega's name and music plays. And out comes Don Callis, basically just trolling the fans, doing his typical promo that he would normally do of like the sleazy carny booker. Was good. It was a fun thing on the show. I've always been a fan of Don Callis, so he did good here. Then the next matchup was QT Marshall versus Hook. Crowd loves Hook. Who cannot love Hook? I mean, young star and father, son of Taz. I mean, he definitely has a bright future. Was a decent match. For a QT Marshall match, it was probably above average because I was expecting it to be worse than what it was, but it was decent. Hook did what he needed to do in there. They put him over. He wins via submission. About 2 stars at best. Nothing to really go out your way to see. Then the next matchup was the last match that was on the buy-in. This was the House of Black of Malakai Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King versus Pac, Pentagon Jr., and Erick Redbeard. Now, this match showcased one thing that I've been saying for a long time, that I know Phoenix is about to be cleared and he's going to be coming back, so you're going to have the Lucha Bros back as a team, but this match just showcased one thing that I've been clamoring for years, ever since the start of AEW, is Pentagon Jr., Penta having a fucking singles run, because he was great in this. And then the other thing that I think everyone is clamoring to see is Buddy Matthews and Pac. They did great with each other in here. It was a fun match. Not anything spectacular, but just a fun match. It was actually the one thing on the pre-show that was actually worth going out your way to see. A fun little match. You had the House of Black pick up the win. Very good tag team combinations in the match. Just a fun little match. About 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 stars. Fun little match. Then the pay-per-view started. Started off strong. Started with Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston. This was the First time in a long time that Chris Jericho was in a feud in a match that I was actually looking forward to actually seeing. And he really stepped it up here. I mean, recently he's gotten into great shape. Always been a fan of Eddie Kingston. This was what you want it to be. This is basically Eddie Kingston's love letter to a All Japan Pro Wrestling 1990s style of strong style. And this was great. Great stuff to start it off. Started the pay-per-view off strong. And Kingston picked up the win after a submission, after he hit the spinning back fist twice and then locked in the stretch plum submission for the win. Very good match to start the show. 3 3/4 stars. Definitely go out your way to see. And there's a number of matches on the show that you need to go out your way to see. Then next matchup was what I was actually expecting the show to actually start off with, just because it seemed like the perfect thing to start the show with. But I'm not going to complain about that great Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston match kicking off the pay-per-view. But the next matchup was the Young Bucks versus reDRagon versus Jurassic Express for the AEW Tag Team titles. This was everything that you would want it to be. This was the spot fest that everyone was expecting it to be. Just so much crazy shit going on. Can't even go through every single thing they did in here, but this was just a fun match. Everything in it was great. Loving the little tease that you're getting with the conflict with the members of reDRagon and the Young Bucks. So obviously we'll be seeing a feud with them two, which will be incredible. But the other thing that was good in this match was one thing I've been complaining about for a while is Jurassic Express, and then even before Jurassic Express, the Lucha Bros, the tag titles were kind of almost the second afterthought, and the main focus was either the Elite or whoever they were feuding with at the time. But they really put over Jurassic Express in here. They retained the titles, which I thought was the smart move. Have them retain the titles, put over the homegrown tag team, and then you could even do further stuff with the Bucks and reDRagon in the future. Just an awesome match. 4.5 stars. Definitely a great match. One of the best matches of the night. Then the next matchup was the Face of the Revolution ladder match. It said Christian Cage, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, or as JR kept calling him, Ricky Stocks, versus Wardlow versus Keith Lee and Orange Cassidy. This was a match I was kind of interested in seeing how this was going to be, because at first I was kind of worried this was going to be a complete clusterfuck, because you had a bunch of big guys in there like Powerhouse Hobbs, Wardlow, and Keith Lee that probably shouldn't be in a ladder match, even though I know Keith Lee is very agile for a big man. Powerhouse Hobbs has shown in this match that he's very agile for a big guy as well, but they had the right person win this match. Wardlow won, and that led to something later with him and MJF that happened at the end of the CM Punk and MJF match, which everyone's been waiting for them to finally pull the trigger on. But Christian did some great stuff in here. Obviously a specialist of the ladder match. Ricky Starks did some decent stuff in here. Powerhouse Hobbs, for a big guy, he did some awesome stuff in here. Then one of the best things in here was Keith Lee just throwing Orange Cassidy over the top rope onto everyone like he was nothing. Apparently that kind of caused Orange Cassidy to get a minor injury, so hopefully he's doing okay. But a fun match. Nothing didn't go out your way to see, but it was a fun little match. Might have went a little long. Could have probably cut a little bit of it, but it was fun. Wardlow picked up the win. Right person won. So at least they had the right person win the match. Wasn't great, but it was okay. Then the next matchup was for the TBS title with Jade Cargill defending against Ty Conti. This match, obviously they're doing a good job of protecting Jade Cargill. She's definitely is improving a lot. She's still pretty green, but they're doing a good job protecting her. I don't know if Ty Conti was the best opponent to have her against. And the other thing is, this match went a little too long. I thought if you want to put over Jade Cargill, I'm not saying you have to have her in like Goldberg, like 2-3 minute squashes, but for her, and since she's a little green, kind of went a little too long. Probably really the only thing on the actual pay-per-view portion that I wasn't really too much of a fan of. But Jade Cargill did retain. About 1 3/4 stars. The weakest match on the actual pay-per-view. Only thing I would say that isn't worth going out your way to see. Then the next matchup was the match I think everyone was looking forward to seeing the most, which has been hands down the best feud of the year, even if this is the end of the feud, which might be, might not. We'll have to wait and see what they do. But MJF versus CM Punk in a dog collar match. Now, this already had everything of it being a classic before going in, just the build up and everything. The promos with these two, I mean, obviously the two best promos in the business right now, MJF and especially CM Punk. Before the even match started, you had a little mind games with MJF coming out to CM Punk's theme song, and then you had CM Punk actually using AFI's song they used back in Ring of Honor, Masera Cantera. He used that, which was a great throwback from Ring of Honor. This whole feud has been a love letter to CM Punk's Ring of Honor career, from the paying homage to his feud with Jimmy Rave, and then obviously his final night in Ring of Honor at Punk the Final Count, Punk the Final Chapter, and just everything with this match was what it should have been. Great in-ring psychology. Punk bled like buckets. MJF did as well. Just everything you wanted this match to be. End of the match was really good. They did a thumbtack spot with CM Punk hitting the GTS to MJF through some tacks. And then before this, you had MJF yelling for Wardlow to come out there and having him hand him the diamond ring. Wardlow came out there. He was like looking like he didn't have it on him. Then after MJF took to go to sleep, Wardlow took the ring out of his other pocket, acting like, oh, fuck it, I didn't know I actually still had it on me. Placed it on the ring, and this is obviously Wardlow turning babyface, which Wardlow is going to be a great big man for this company. I mean, he works a style that normally isn't what every AEW star is, which is more athletic, acrobatic style, but he's going to be doing good, and the crowd popped like hell for his babyface turn there. Punk wins the match, knocks out MJF. He uses the diamond ring and picks up the win in about a 4.5-star match. Very good stuff. I probably enjoyed their match on Dynamite a little more, but this match, you know, just in-ring psychology and everything in it, and the story they told was just great, and definitely you need to go out your way to see. Then the next matchup was Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker for the AEW Women's title. This match was a little bit disappointing. I was expecting much more from it. Now, unfortunately, they were put on the pay-per-view probably at the worst time. Is you wouldn't want to have to be the talent to have to go out there after what MJF and CM Punk just did and had that incredible match. So they had that going against them right there. Then, like, the outside interference and everything like that kind of took away from the match. Obviously, this is not going to be the last time we'll see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. Like I said earlier, they're doing Leyla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa on this Wednesday's Dynamite, and whoever wins that then takes on Britt Baker at the St. Patrick's Day episode of Dynamite, and that's going to be in Texas. So they're going to want Thunder Rosa to win in her home state, which, I mean, makes perfect sense, but they probably should have pulled the trigger here and had Thunder Rosa just win the title on the pay-per-view. But I get what they want to do. They want to have her have that huge pop in winning the title in her home state, which I'm not going to have any problem with. And I expect that match to probably be a little bit better, since obviously this was kind of them just holding back, considering they knew they were going to be taking on each other again. And then then that match I would probably give about 3 stars. Britt Baker retains after the curb stomp and after some outside interference from Rebel and Jamie Hayter. Next matchup was Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. These two probably had one of the best singles matches they've ever had with each other, and definitely Moxley's best AEW match. I would say easily bars down Moxley's best AEW match. And Danielson is just going in here in AEW just basically saying, I'm gonna put on the best matches I possibly can in my career, and this was just great. You had Moxley bleeding buckets in here early. Danielson, obviously, in a recent interview, said the one thing that made him want to go to AEW instead of staying with WWE is that he actually wanted to bleed. Vince wasn't all for that. So Danielson looks like he's definitely making up for all that within AEW. And this was just a wild brawl. They just beat the living shit out of each other. The ending of the match kind of came a little controversial, where Moxley did pick up the win, but it looked like Danielson got out of the pinfall in time. But Moxley did win, and then after this, they just kept beating the shit out of each other until fucking William Regal comes out here, and the crowd went like crazy. I did as well. Great to see William Regal in AEW now. They could do a couple things with him. Obviously, they're going to be doing something with him, Danielson and Moxley, maybe forming this whole thing with them being a team where they're going to be recruiting all these young guys like Lee Moriarty and Daniel Garcia, which will be some great stuff. But then, obviously, William Regal there is going to be a great hand to have backstage, especially with Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor. He could possibly be one guy, because Tony Khan's saying he's going to be booking Ring of Honor, but Tony Khan is going to be kind of burning himself at both ends if he's trying to book AEW and he's trying to book Ring of Honor. So obviously having someone like Regal, he can help do stuff like that, which definitely looking forward to see what they do with Regal in AEW. I don't know if Regal is in perfect health to wrestle, but man, I would love to see just not actually him having a run or anything, but I would love to see him and Danielson just one time in a singles match in AEW, if it is all possible. But that match, 4.5 stars. It's kind of hard for me to say what was my favorite match on this show up to this match, because you had that, MJF and Punk, and then you had tag match, which I think all of them, for different reasons, were equally just as great. Then the next matchup was Matt Hardy, Andrade, and Isaiah Cassidy versus Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin. Now, this was a match that, obviously, other than AEW wanting Sting to be in the pay-per-view match, this had really no complete purpose being on here. Would have been made more sense just having the TNT title match they had on Rampage actually on the pay-per-view. But I get it. They want to have Sting in a little showcase match for the pay-per-view. And every time Sting's out there, his crazy old ass will do some crazy shit, and he did it in this match. Looked like Sting was trying to become a New Jack in this match when he did his dive off the balcony onto some tables. Definitely one of the highlights of this match was Sting. Darby did some good stuff in here. It was fun, but nothing you need to go out your way to see, though. 3 1/4 stars. And then the main event was for the AEW World Title. This was Adam Cole versus Adam Page. This match, obviously with the 2 stars, you knew it was going to be a great match. But obviously going in this pay-per-view, this was kind of like the 3rd or 4th match people were looking forward to. I think most people were looking forward to, obviously, me in general, I was looking forward to MJF versus CM Punk #1. And then, obviously, Moxley versus Danielson. And then probably even the Triple Threat Tag Team title match I was looking forward to a little more than this match, just because the build of it just didn't seem that important. But it was a great match. Adam Cole and Adam Page did some great stuff in here. Definitely was a match that was worthy to main event. And I'm always one of those guys that will say you need to always have your heavyweight title main event a show. Obviously, there's some times you can have some exceptions to that rule, but if you want to make your title seem seem precious and seem worthy of being like the main thing of your company, and that's the whole thing. The company is built around the world title, so if you don't have that main event, it would take away. Even though I know some people probably would have said 1 or 2 other matches could have main evented, but I'm glad they actually did have the world title main event, especially since I knew them two were going to go out there and have a great match. Definitely a match worth going out your way to see. Adam Page does win. He ends up hitting the buckshot lariat. Just a fun match. Great main event. 4 1/4 stars. I mean, you had 5 matches on this pay-per-view that are must-see matches. And with my ratings, I had 4 matches, 4 stars or higher, which is very rare to get on a show. So This show, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Hell, you probably can give it even a 9 out of 10. Because like I said, the only things on this show that were weak were the buy-in, which you kind of can not count that as a part of the show. So I'm not faulting them for that because that's just a free show. So you don't really have to even count that. But the actually only thing on the pay-per-view that was probably not worth seeing was the TBS title match. And the six-man tag with Sting was fun, but it wasn't like anything you need to go out your way to see. And then a few matches probably did overstay their welcome. They could have probably structured the show a little better and maybe trimmed the fat out and maybe cut the show maybe an hour shorter, because 5 hours for a show is pretty damn long. It's definitely given us fans our money's worth for actually buying the show. But I know a lot of people are going to be like, by the time it gets to the last hour, you're like, damn, is this show ever going to end? And it's not like you're saying the show's bad. You're just saying, this is a long fucking show. But in AEW's case, since they only do these pay-per-views on a quarterly basis and it's not a monthly basis, I'll kind of give them a little bit of a pass there. But if this was like a monthly basis, they probably could just do a 3-hour show or go a little over 3 hours, not a 4-hour show plus the hour-long pre-show. But definitely a show to worth going out your way to see. Great show from AEW and probably one of the best shows of this year so far. A lot of great stuff on it. And that's it for my AEW Revolution 2022 review. All right, peace.